Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. We love talking with actors. And today we have Conor McMahon with us. He's the star of the new movie on UPTV, Writing a Love Song. And Conor, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, this is fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, there's some behind the scenes. This is we were able to connect real quick, and this is
Yeah,
it's a little more impromptu
very
than some of
impromptu.
our other interviews. Yeah, you literally landed an hour ago in Europe.
Yeah. Oh, I was just saying. Yeah, I think that this came together in the last 15 minutes, but I'm
Yeah.
glad it did.
Yes. Yes. So this is your first time on the podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what inspired you to get into acting, to start acting?
Sure. Well, like you said, my name is Conor McMahon. What inspired me? I actually started performing by doing talent shows at my high school, which was a very kind of weird thing. Like I wasn't an artsy person. Like I took piano lessons growing up as a kid, but I was very much sports oriented. And so even just getting up on stage was like terrifying. But as soon as I would start, I just kind of forget about everything else and blank it all out. And then when I was in grade 11, my mom dared me to go out for my high school play.
Ah,
She heard me talking about it, could tell that I was interested, and she and my dad sat me down and they're like, if you do it and you don't like it, quit, but quit early, so that somebody else can get in there and you're not screwing anybody over.
yeah.
But if you love it, maybe found something else that you like to do.
Yeah,
And
give
I
it a
thought,
shot.
okay, yeah, sure. I guess I'll go try out for this play. And I mean, that was, I don't even know how many years ago now, but clearly I love
What
it.
was
And
the
it's been over
play?
10 years now that I've been acting. So it was a Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I think
Yeah.
significant because I'm a theater critic as well as a film critic. And
Okay.
I think that, in my opinion, that actually improves upon the movie. It's better.
It's was a weird sort of version. We did the Victor Hugo play, but we had this incredibly talented girl in her senior year who wrote like 12 original songs
Oh my gosh. So it's
for,
not that it wasn't the Disney one.
for us. For No, it was not the Disney one, but I
Oh,
think we kept five of her original songs in it. We couldn't get the rights to do the Disney one, and then the following year, our high school did get the rights to do the Little Mermaid. So that
oh,
was my first crack at musical theater was the next year. But yeah, it was kind of
yeah.
jumped into the deep end with it.
Interesting. So what part did you have in Little Mermaid?
I played Prince Eric in The Little Mermaid.
Ah, you got the
My hair was a lot
lead.
longer. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's fun.
It was amazing. I That was a lot of fun. That was my senior year of high school, and I was like, you know what? I just got injured. Sports was now off the table. I wasn't going to be
Ah.
able to play anymore, and I'm like, I loved this last year. Why not do it again? And
Mhm.
here we are.
You're like, ladies, I'm playing Prince Eric.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I that's fun. I actually just reviewed a local production of The Little Mermaid. It was unbelievable. They had over 200 people in the cast. It
Wow.
was they said that they started out, they give this little introduction and they were like, we decided that we were going to let anyone who wanted to participate. And I'm like, you're not kidding.
Oh,
And
that's
it was
fantastic.
amazing. Yeah, they had like all of these little girls. There were probably 30 little girls all dressed up in mermaid outfits, and then there it was the cutest thing. I mean, I would say probably maybe at least a two-thirds were all little kids, of the 200. But
That's fun.
it was absolutely adorable, and they had like all these kids that were seagulls and little
Right.
frogs, and it was really fun.
So
It's like,
we did not have 200 people in our version. We had, I don't know, maybe 20 people.
yeah, yeah,
And so all of our supporting cast played everything. And so my brother, who's
yeah.
actually on a bus or train right now on his way to meet me, he was a chef, he was a seagull, He was a frog. He was the place that played the bass
Yeah.
in Under the Sea. And so our running joke, he was part of the ship. So our joke in our family is that he was actually the star of the show because he was on stage more than anybody else.
Yeah. That's the
Yeah,
best. I just love community theater for that. It's the best.
yeah.
The just the scrappiness of it I love.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
just find a way to make it
it's almost
happen.
more fulfilling when it all comes together too. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Mhm. Yeah, my cousin
Do you do
did
theater yourself?
I unfortunately I'm like the worst dancer in the world. So like musical theater is almost impossible for me. But I did in high school. And I would love to give it a shot again one of these days because I'm an okay singer. I'm just like really bad at dancing. Um, but I review and I attend a ton of theater. And last year I saw 125 live performances. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
I
That's
actually
so incredible, especially
I love it. Yeah.
coming out of a couple of years where we couldn't
Yeah.
go to theaters and see anything live. I was in the middle of doing a musical when the pandemic hit. Like I was on my way
Oh,
to the theater. We were halfway through our run and got a call
oh,
that said like that's it, we're done, we're shut down. And I'm
oh.
like, and we never picked it back up.
It was devastating. I mean, literally
Yeah.
devastating for me. I never in a million years thought that the theaters would be closed. Like when they first happened, I was like, oh, it'll only be
I
like a
know.
week or 2 weeks. And then when it's, it was awful. And I just said,
We
I'm
were
going to,
planning on picking the show back up
yeah. Yeah. I think everybody was. And it was just,
and it's back. And now it's back.
yeah. Yeah.
Thankfully it's back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was horrible. Horrible. Hope we never, I hope we never do something like that again. Like understand the reasons, but
Yeah.
you know, it was bad. It was bad. But anyway, yeah, I love supporting the arts as much as I possibly can. It's my passion.
Oh, that's great. And I mean, this
Yeah.
podcast is great too. Yeah.
Well,
125 shows is amazing.
thank you.
Ho, ho, ho! We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
So yeah, so you had seen the podcast because you were on Mary Bailey movie for Lifetime.
I was, yeah.
Yeah, you were the bad
Yes.
guy, right?
Very, very different movie than the one we're
Yes.
here to talk about today. But yeah, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I
Yeah.
played the very mean, very awful, horrible, horrible man who
Yeah.
was Willard Sims in that story. Yeah,
Yeah. But so that movie,
yeah, that was
if people don't know that movie, it had the same story from three perspectives. So was your performance
mhm.
different at all in those three, depending on who was sort of telling the story?
I tried it. I wanted it to be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was the intention. Yeah, I to sure that confusing when you're playing, because it's not just this, the same character, but it's the same events that happen three different ways too. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's being seen through the eyes of a 6-year-old girl or an 11-year-old, and then your wife, and then your mother-in-law, and just trying to keep those stories straight. But yeah, they definitely, for each of their story, which was also their testimony in court, the different version I thought was really important to make sure that there were distinct differences in the relationships too that were being portrayed. Not just, she said it happened this way, this person said it happened this way, but actually how Willard interacted with these people depending on who was telling the story. I thought was really important.
Yeah, definitely. So did you actually hear that podcast, the one with Greg McBride and Mary? Did you see that?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
So that makes me happy
because it was great.
That makes me happy because I was actually pretty nervous about that interview because I'm not a journalist. Like, I have no training. And so I'm just figuring it out, on my own. And so to do like a real, this is a person who's been through trauma, I just this is a real story, I just wanted to make sure that I gave the respect that she needed, and that I don't know, it's just a different kind of interview, and I was really happy with how it turned out.
Well, Mary is one of the sweetest people on the planet. I was very privileged to meet her while we were filming, but I also got to jump on a Zoom with her about 3 weeks before we started shooting, just to chat with her. And I mean, I was sweating. I was terrified because based on, the character I'm playing, this is, a real person that did some real horrible things in her life. That was a real interesting experience. And she was just so sweet and so kind. And when she turned up on set for a few days, she was so excited about the movie and to be there and to sit and talk with us. So I mean, as you saw in that interview, she's just the best. And Greg is also super, super sweet.
Yeah. Love them so much. And it was interesting because I don't watch that many of the Lifetime thrillers, but this one, it was really more of kind of an inspirational story. It really wasn't, I mean, it had its thrilling moments, but it was more of a survival story.
Absolutely. And to see where Mary came from and where she is now, to all the amazing things that she does, if you continue to follow the story, from beyond the movie, it's really, really incredible.
Yeah. When you found out you got that role, what was kind of your process like for playing this, this person?
I really wanted to get my hands on as much information as humanly possible. And so in talking with Mary, that conversation was very telling.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. She also has a book, My Mother Soldier, that there are things that she talks about in the book that we just were not allowed to show on TV.
Sure.
Especially on, some of these networks. And so it's some really sad and horrifying things that are in the movie. And then when you find out all the other pieces that we weren't even allowed to show or talk about, I think for me, it was going in with as much information as humanly possible, but then also trying to remember that at some point, this woman did fall in love with Willard. There's one line in the script where younger Mary describes Willard as being sweet as pie in 1 minute and mean as a rattlesnake in the next. And I thought, okay, that was sort of, like I say, the jumping off point. I'm like, okay, so he's got this charming, endearing side. Nobody goes after this guy, but when he flips quick and he flips hard, and he becomes really, really nasty. And so just kind of allowing myself to do that, to be as mean as you have to be in some of those situations. But also, we had such an amazing cast. I mean, Melissa Joan Hart was phenomenal to work with. Olivia Presley, little Luca, who played my son. Everybody was so in it together. Like we worked through those scenes, and especially that big one at the end where you finally see what happens. We shot that for a really long time, and so we were all everyone was really supportive with each other in sort of getting through some of those harder bits.
Well, it's like you have to bring some like humanity to the role, because I mean, in a way, that's what makes the person even more of a monster, is if there's some humanity in the you know.
Well, absolutely. And I think that's the other part to it as well, is that this isn't a created villain. This isn't a Disney villain or a fictional. This is a real guy who really did these things.
Yeah.
And so remembering that a human being like has the capacity to be that horrible is a really hard thing to kind of accept, and then to remember, like, oh my gosh, I'm the guy that has to do this now on screen. But also, I think for me to get past all that, it was remembering that if I don't do this, the story or their story doesn't make as much sense if I'm not as mean as I possibly can be.
Right.
Because this guy was horrible. He was as bad and worse than we show in the movie. And so if I don't do justice to that, if I don't do that truthfully, then I'm not respecting that story with the amount that it deserves. So that was the biggest hurdle, was just remembering, like, okay, it's not only a job, but this really happened. This is someone's story, and we got to tell it as truthfully as we're allowed to.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I think it's underappreciated for, I mean, I watched most of those ripped from the headlines. And the problem is that I'm like a Dateline kind of fan. So most of those ripped from the headlines, I already know like most of the stuff. And so I don't know, a lot of them, they end up being kind of boring for me. And maybe it was just lucky that I didn't know anything about Mary Bailey's story. But I don't know. I just thought that one was a lot better than the other rip from the headlines that Lifetime did, because I don't know. There was just, I thought just having to
I'll take it.
Having to do the 3 different tellings, and there was just different. It wasn't like these other ones that were just like, okay, I already know all this stuff.
It was a very creative way of telling that story by doing it through the court testimony. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by W Rated, the podcast where we willingly watch the world's worst rated movies. Join me, Daisy,
and me, Claire, as we break down the IMDb Bottom 100, choosing a different film from the list every episode.
We take a deep dive into the plot, production, release, and reviews, usually with a special guest, to uncover if these films are truly as bad as everyone says they are.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, and anywhere else you find your podcasts.
This Writing a Love Song, this coming out this weekend. And so how did you end up getting this role? What was that process like? Your self-tape and everything?
Oh my gosh. How I got this role was because I had a lot of people fighting for me behind the scenes. I am a huge country music fan. So when I found out that I was going to even get to audition to play a country music singer, I was already ecstatic. But then when I got to read the script and I got the scenes, I was just like, oh my gosh, I just wanted it so bad. And usually, as an actor, you audition for so many things.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to accept that you're not going to get it. You do the audition and you move on, you put it out of mind. And I couldn't put this out of mind. I had just signed with my agent like maybe a month before this audition came in. And between her, the casting director, my agent Paige, Larissa Mayer, who casted it, they both really went to bat for me. I never had this big a role in anything in film and TV before. So for Vortex to take a chance on me as well, for Jesse and Chris and Sally, Evan, Cal, everybody that was sort of involved in the decision making, I got really lucky.
Yeah.
That's all I can say is that they were willing to take a chance. Paige and Larissa fought for me. They said, "Okay, sure, we like a new face every now and then." And then my first day on set, I remember like we shot our first scene, and I was just waiting for someone to be like, "You're a fraud, get out." Like
Yeah.
no, we were wrong. We're gonna get somebody else in here because it was terrifying.
Yeah.
But
So
they were all so incredible.
did you do a particular song in your self tape?
I did, yeah. So I initially you had to do the scenes they sent us, and then
Mm-hmm.
submit a song, as they said, preferably in a country style. So
Mm-hmm.
I went and grabbed one of my cowboy hats. Actually, I think I wore my brother's cowboy hat
Ah.
because I thought it looked better. And I went and grabbed my guitar, and I can't remember. I actually don't remember what song I played in the initial audition, but I was in Toronto shooting for a show called Accused, and had just had a lunch meeting with my agent. And as we were leaving that meeting, we found out I got a call back, and the callback was just they wanted to see another song. Probably to see if we could do it twice or if it was like a fluke, like a
Yeah.
one-off. And I was staying at my friend's house, and her sister had an old guitar that was like under her bed, and so I went and grabbed that, and like in my friend's living room, just like I think the day or just after I got off set, I did one of the songs from A Star Is Born. Maybe It's Time from A Star Is Born, but I countrified it a little bit. I added a little bit more twang, and then I just sat anxiously and waited to hear what was going to happen. But my agent was keeping me updated all the way. She's like, "Yeah, no, it's looking good. No, they really want you. They're okay. They're a little worried about this." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" As much as I love getting these emails, I'm gonna have a heart attack
Yeah.
if I don't. I just need to know. Like it was weeks of just, yeah, okay, well, we're thinking about it. Oh, they're gonna make a decision. Actually, they're not sure. And then finally, when it happened, I think I was back home at this point, and like I screamed into the phone. I was so excited.
You freak out.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, to play a character like this, and also I've been acting on screen now for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I started in musical theater, and so to get to bring in a musical element to this as well was super exciting. It's my first time being one of the starring roles in a movie, so that was super exciting. And everything about it, I couldn't stop thinking about, and I am so grateful that my agent and that Larissa Mare fought for me, and that everybody listened to them and let me do it.
That's great. I love that story.
Yeah.
So you could play the guitar. You had some experience with country music a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
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 So,
I used to work in a Tex-Mex restaurant for like 4 years, and when I got there, I didn't like country music, and I was like, "What am I doing?" Like I don't even like it. And then I think within about a month of working there, I was obsessed. I was like, "Oh, this is my favorite genre now." It's all I listen to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really fun. So from when you found out you got the role, how long did you have before they started filming? I know sometimes it's real quick in these.
I was shooting something else at the same time. There's about 4 days of overlap between the end of the shoot of this other movie and when Writing a Love Song started. One was happening in Hamilton, Ontario, and we did Writing a Love Song up in North Bay, Ontario. But we also had to record the song. So I shot a couple days in Hamilton for this other movie, went back home to Ottawa, which is where I was living at the time. It's where I'm from. And then got on a train, went down to Toronto, recorded the song, went back to Hamilton for another 5 or 6 days, finished that movie, had 48 hours in Ottawa over like Thanksgiving weekend, or just before Thanksgiving, and then was up in North Bay for a month. So I didn't even have time to like really sit down and think about it, which is better for me because I would have overthought it.
So were you and Nina,
crazy.
were you together when you recorded the song?
No, we weren't.
That's interesting.
So I was shooting something, and Britt, who plays Hannah, um, who's the voice on the song, she was shooting something else as well. She couldn't make it to Toronto. I was supposed to go in with her when this other thing. So they were very nice to let me come in and do it first. And then Britt went in, I think, 2 weeks after, and she did her part and made me sound a lot better. And then when
Oh, that's
we
right.
got
Yeah.
onto set, I think it was week 2. It was week 2 that I think we filmed the concert, the showcase, and that was the first time either of us had heard our voices together, but had heard the kind of finished song in general, and we are just like, we got to do this for real. Like, it sounded amazing, and we were super happy with it, but we're like, we're going to be shooting this for like 7-8 hours.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look the same when you're lip syncing. So we went for it, and that was a fun day.
That's right, because Nina's the producer. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy that you weren't even together when you you and Britt weren't even together when you recorded the song.
No, I didn't. I hadn't met Britt until we were on set together.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd all kind of started talking and texting. Nina and I had started texting, but Nina and I also met the day before we started shooting.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. We were all up in North Bay together, and it was like we really just got, or at least I felt like I just got, again, thrown into the deep end, and it was amazing. Like, the whole crew, the whole cast, everybody was there the whole time. So we were having dinners together. After shooting on the weekends, we were all hanging out, and it was a really, really nice time.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell people, our listeners, why don't you tell them a little bit about the movie, about what to expect?
Yeah. So it follows, I guess, myself, my character, Dustin Miller, who is he's a rising star country singer. His first album was an absolute smash hit with his ex-girlfriend. And after they broke up, they each put out a solo album. She stayed famous, and my second album tanked. So now I have pressure being put on me from my manager and from my record company to put out a great album. Otherwise, that's it. My career's over. My dream's over. On the other side, Nina's character, Chloe, is an aspiring music producer who's just has never been given her shot. So when her boss goes out of town and I show up desperate for a hit single within a week, she pretends to be a full-on producer, and we end up working together throughout the movie to create what's going to be this grand finale, this hit of a song, and possibly some romance ensues while this happens. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. When I first saw the description, I was like, I don't know about this, but I watched it and I was like, this was actually pretty cute. I thought the music was good, and I liked Nina as an actress. I thought she was good. And I liked you. I don't know. I just thought it was simple but effective.
Yeah, we had such a good time making the movie, and everything on set was very loose too, very easy. If there were things that we felt like we'd already said or already done in a scene, because a lot of times you can get repetitive in these types of movies, but we just sit down, we say, okay, how can we change it to kind of keep this going? What would we feel better doing? And our director, our producer, the writers, everybody was in on just making it as collaborative as humanly possible every single day. So that was an absolute treat too.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is they had a good song. Like, it was there was a decent little love song.
Yeah, I really liked it. I was given, when I got the part, I was sent a demo to listen to from the people who wrote the song. And it was crazy how the song came about. They put out sort of just like a little summary of the movie, even less than what I just said. And they put it out to a bunch of musicians and said, we're looking for a song that has, can tie into this. And without ever reading a script or having any real idea what the movie is about, this duo wrote this song recorded a demo, sent it in, and it just fits so perfectly with the overarching story that they did
Yeah.
great. They selected it, sent it to us to listen to a couple of times, and then when we were in the studio in Toronto, it was really nice to have like hear how they wanted it as well. Because I love country music, but I've never sang a country song for the first time. I'm a fan of other people's songs,
Yeah.
and so that
Yeah.
was really working with our composers too was really really cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I think that must be the coolest thing to like, I don't know, just I mean, it's the neatest thing to like make anything. But I always thought like to make a song, like the song didn't exist and now here it is. Like that would be the
well,
coolest thing.
well, if you want a funny story, when I went in to record the song, I was so nervous. Like I
Sure.
said, my first day shooting, I was worried about, like, oh gosh, am I a fraud? Was I only as good as those three scenes that I auditioned with? Like, what's gonna happen? All the self-doubt that comes in on your first day of shooting anything.
Hmm.
But when I went in to record the song, I don't know what possessed me. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. I put on, like, I do sing country music, but I put on this crazy accent just like out of sheer nerves.
Yeah.
And so they start rolling the thing. I'm in the studio and I might have gotten like 5 or 10 seconds in and they stop the song
They're
and I
like,
see
what?
everybody behind the glass because they can hear me, but I can't hear them. I can just see them. And it was our composers, two of our producers were all in the room, and I just saw this. And then they come back on the mic and they go, "Yeah, you want to
What was
try that
that?
again?
Yeah.
Yeah, please. Yeah, just warm up. Just I don't know what that was, but just forget about it." And nothing changed on take two. As soon as the song started, again, I was like so overbearingly like country. It sounded so cartoony. And like
Yeah.
again, 10 seconds and they stop the tape. And I just see everybody on the other side of the glass like this.
They're like, great. Hey, Garth Brooks, calm down.
They're all looking around at each other like, oh, too late to get somebody else. And I'm so worried. I'm like, oh no, what am I doing? Like I knew I'd messed it up. And our composer just very simply, our producer, Sally Karam, looked at me through the glass and she went, just like, keep going, you're good, you got it. And I was like, okay, they're not firing me, that's good.
Yeah.
And our composer came on the mic and he goes, hey Connor, it's a country song. You don't have to make it country.
It just
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
And I went, yep, got it, noted. He's like, yeah, it lends itself to the genre, just sing it. And I went, okay, gotcha, just gonna sing it. And then we were smooth sailing from then on out. But those first two takes, I was like, I'm fired.
Yeah.
They've got a month to find somebody else. I'm out of here. This is not going well for
Mhm.
me. But yeah, once that happened, nerves were out, and then we were easy
Yeah.
going from that point on. But yeah,
It's interesting that you did the song first, That must have helped your performance. You kind of have that
yeah.
already in
Well,
there.
it did for the day that we did this showcase for sure. It was
Yeah,
also
yeah.
so cold. We were filming in a barn in Callender, Ontario, just outside of North Bay. And it had snowed the day before and it was freezing. We could see our breath. I don't know if it comes through. I haven't actually seen the movie yet,
Uh-huh.
but we could see our breath in front of us. And we're looking around during the rehearsal. We're like shaking. We're like, oh my God, it's freezing. Trying to play guitar. Everybody's playing those instruments. Like we had real musicians back there. Kent Sheridan, who plays Chuck
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, also a very talented guitar player and singer. So like we're up there doing the thing, but we were so cold. But it also kind of added to the
Yeah.
adrenaline. The adrenaline. Like we had a bunch of background actors there in the audience. They were hearing the song for the first time, And when Hannah and I decided, we're like, we're gonna sing this for real. We gave a concert, a one song concert for 7 hours, just the same song over and over
Oh my
again.
gosh.
But we really went for it. And that was like, having known the song, having been able to hear it and work with it in advance, for sure, definitely helped to feel a little bit more comfortable being up on the stage to do that, rather than just having to lip sync it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting. One thing I was curious about, do you happen to know, was this at one point a Christmas movie? Because it's
I
just
don't know.
unusual in these kind of movies to see Christmas trees, and in a non-Christmas movie, and there were a number of them, and it in particularly in that bar, there was a Christmas tree in there, and I was just like, I wonder if
That's
if
right.
there were plans for this to be a Christmas movie and it got changed at all, or
No, to my knowledge, it was never a Christmas movie. I If there are Christmas trees in there, is either accidental or somebody was slipping them in as a joke,
Oh, okay,
because everything else is usually a Christmas movie.
yeah.
So maybe it was like a little subtle Easter
Well, it's the
egg,
kind of thing
or
that like only I would notice, but I
totally, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's fine because lots of things happen during, the holiday season that aren't
Well,
Christmas specific, so it's fine. But like,
that
I
bar
was
that
just
we
kind of
were
like, oh, there's a
shooting
Christmas
in,
tree in that scene.
that bar that we were shooting in was still open, and like,
Yeah, yeah.
it was a really good rib place, actually.
Oh, really?
But they did karaoke, like it was a real karaoke bar, and we were there all of October, so it might have just been some of their decorations. Sorry,
Yeah.
jet lag brain. Some of their decorations might have just slipped on in there unnoticed
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
everyone except for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you it's interesting with you and Nina, uh you, most of the relationship in the movie is more of like a business relationship, but she's like telling this
Hmm.
lie, which is always a fun
Yeah.
basis for romantic comedy kind of story. And she's pretending to be this producer or whatever. But how did you work together? I know you said that you were filming a day after meeting, but how did that work between the two of you?
It was so easy. Nina is incredible, and everybody on the cast got along really, really well, and we made a point of like going out and doing things and getting to know each other. And some people did already know each other from before. I was meeting everybody for the first time, but with Nina and I, it was harder to do the serious scenes because we couldn't stop trying to make each other laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Like we especially in some of those later night or overnight shooting days, we'd just be delirious. And she and I were there every day of shooting from start to finish. So we would be like up at 4:30 in the morning to be on set for 5,
Yeah,
shoot all the way
brutal.
till 9-10 o'clock at night, go back to the hotel, sleep like the minimum hours, and then go back. But we like everybody who worked on this, not just cast but crew as well, like they were excited about it. Everybody liked the movie, was excited to work on it. We had really great camera team, our sound team, like everybody was just so, sometimes nobody ever really phones it in. I've never seen someone phone it in on a film set, but sometimes they're like, oh yeah, we've done this before, this is how you do that, and that's how that goes. And for this one, everybody just got so involved. Like our last week, everybody was wearing cowboy hats. There's more fringe than a Willie Nelson concert on our set. It was like everybody was just excited about it. And when it came to Nina and I, we got along so well, which helps. It absolutely helps. But yeah, we joke around. We never took anything too seriously. It was really easy. Like I said, I've said this before, but she's a master of going from, totally not serious to like, she dials in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd never seen her before, I don't think, and I really enjoyed her performance.
She is incredible, and like she would we'd be about to like do some, it's like some of that stuff at Horseshoe Bay where it's really serious and supposed to be super emotional. And then we'd be like sitting on the truck. There's a lot of behind the scenes pictures of us just laughing hysterically on the back of that truck because she'd whisper like something super inappropriate into my ear, and they'd be like, "And action," and we'd have to, we'd have to go into all this sad stuff. And I'm like, so we made a point of trying to get each other right before the cameras were rolling, which made it a lot of fun.
That's cool. That's great. Well, I enjoyed the movie. I think the Hallmarkies will also enjoy it.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Well, we like to end our interviews with some fun get to know you questions. So rapid fire. Here we go. First question.
All right.
What is the best ice cream flavor?
Oh gosh. There's one, it's so specific, but it was at this little place in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and the flavor was called Moose Tracks.
Oh yeah. I've had that.
And I don't know if okay, so it is a universal thing. I wasn't sure. Or either that or like Ben and Jerry's cookie dough.
Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay. What is your favorite color?
Blue.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. What music are you into?
Country music. But also I listen to a lot of classic rock as well.
Oh, okay. Good. Good. All right. What is your go-to date night food?
Go-to date night food. I like making your own pizzas.
Oh.
Yeah, yes. Get some nice wine, and then you get to, it's a whole experience, not just ordering in, but like actually like making it from scratch, aside from the dough, because I can't do that.
Right. It doesn't even really matter. Like dough's dough. And
it's fun.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's the toppings that make it the difference.
Yeah, put on some good music. There's a great playlist on Spotify called Making a Pizza. Put that on. You have nice wine. You make the pizza. You get to eat the pizza.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds like a good
date to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of already maybe answered it, but your go-to date night activity if you're going out and doing something, you're making pizzas, I guess.
Ooh, it's just pizzas. I only make pizzas. Something fun. I mean, it's always nice to like go out and have like a nice dinner where you can talk, but like, I'm not a great dancer, but I like to dance. I like to do something fun, or it could be like some kind of activity.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah, something active.
As long as my date doesn't care that I'm absolutely terrible, then I could actually have fun dancing. But
if you can't make a fool out of yourself with the person you're with, you're not the person you're supposed to be with.
Yeah, I think you could tell a lot by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Which do you like better, dogs or cats?
Okay. I grew up with cats, but I love dogs. My sister has a dog, and he is one of the cutest things I've ever. He's the best. He's my little buddy. But I also grew up with cats, so I can't. I gotta plead the fifth on that one. I'm Switzerland.
Kind of joke on the pod that cats, you have to earn their love. Dogs just give it.
You do. You do have to. My cat is 17 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm still earning it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which do you like better, beaches or mountains?
Beaches.
Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite holiday to celebrate?
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to beat Christmas because it's like a whole season.
I don't love the season. The lead up is just like, you got to buy presents and getting the right stuff. But for us, like my family's kind of all over the place. Like, I've got a sister that lives in England. I'm always traveling around, and Christmas we always are all back, and like we all come together. So it's kind of like the only holiday that we really
good.
put. Yeah, second would be like a close second would be Thanksgiving because we usually go down to Chatham, Ontario, and we go to my aunt's farm and we get to see my mom's side of the family too. And it's
Yeah.
always a big, like there's tons of people with the absolute best food you'll ever eat in your life. So that is a really close second.
Well, you're Canadian Thanksgiving. That's in like October, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I always love it. How I Met Your Mother. There's always Barney has a lot of Canadian jokes, because Robin's Canadian, and it was just like, you have Thanksgiving in Canada? What do you even have to be thankful about?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I've seen
Silly.
that show like 4 times all the way through.
It ended so terribly that it's hard, but there was some really good stuff, and the Canada jokes were really funny.
They were top notch.
Yeah. All right. Last question. What is your favorite
Okay.
Hallmark or romantic movie?
Okay. Well, this is sort of topical because I was actually there today when I connected, but Casablanca is my favorite romantic movie. And I know, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen it yet, they don't end up together in the end.
Yes.
But I don't mind that. You know,
they'll always
love
have
is still,
Paris. I mean, it's
yes, they
good.
will. I used to live in Paris. I studied there for a little bit when I was in university. And then I've always wanted to go to Casablanca. And then today I got to connect through there. Never set foot out of the airport, but I can say I've been. I got the stamp.
Well,
and then modern movie would be Crazy Stupid Love. Like it's one of the best of all time.
Yeah, good choices. Can't argue with either of those. Very good.
Oh, I've got my top 5 ready to go at all times. Those are just you said rom-coms, but those are, so I'll keep those 2 there.
Yeah, those are very good. Well, you did it. You answered all the questions.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks so much for doing this. I we said at the beginning, this was a spontaneous interview, but it's so fun.
Very
I really
spontaneous,
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I hope we get to do another one soon.
Yes. And if people, well, first of all, so the movie is on the 31st, correct? It's on Sunday?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Easter Sunday.
On UPTV, so people should check it out. And then it will also be on the Up Faith and Family and all that, I'm sure. If people want to follow you on socials and stuff like that, how do they do that?
Yeah, my Instagram is at Conor Michael McMahon. I'm not on X or Twitter, and I don't. I think I've posted a single thing in my life on TikTok, and the same videos on my Instagram. So honestly, my Instagram is mostly just stuff I do for work or like me hanging out with my family. But please follow. It's a good time.
Well, I hope you have a great trip with your brother. Enjoy Europe.
Thank you very much. I hope you're feeling better.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'd like to thank Conor for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to get a chance to talk with him. We had a great time. And it was just, we were talking on Instagram and we're like, are you available right now? And I was like, yes. And we did it. So super fun. And so let me know what you think of all the different things that we talked about in the comments or on Twitter. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And also make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group, which is the biggest way you can support us, and a merch store. Please check that out. And thanks again to Conor. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.